Hello, happy summer, my friend.
Happy summer to you. It's midsummer. Check us out. And
It's
I've got my
mid-year.
t-shirts on. Look at us. Hey,
All
I'm
our
just
bright,
in from
happy
the beach.
colors.
Just
Bright,
in
happy
from the beach.
colors.
Look,
Yeah, it's
it's nearly 10 o'clock here at night. It's still, if I turn my big lamp off, it's just going dark. I've got that smoky kind of barbecue thing coming in from the neighbors. It's proper.
it
It's proper.
smells like summer. It smells
Smells
like
like summer.
mid-year. It's
If we had a
perfect.
fire hydrant in the street, there'd be kids running around getting soaked by it, but we don't do that. We don't have fire hydrants like that in the UK. So, but if I did,
Wait,
that's what it would be like.
wait a minute. This has nothing to do with association transformation, but
I knew you'd ask
wh
me.
where do the firefighters get the water to
Oh,
put the fires out?
we have hydrants, but they're underground. We don't have big stand up out of the ground hydrants like you do. We have them just beneath the sidewalk so that they
Oh,
lift up a panel and plug in that
oh,
way. So instead
okay.
of having these big red hydrants that you guys have on every street corner that
Yeah.
kids can just vandalize seemingly and just let rip with all the water. We don't have that. We
Okay.
have
Oh, your
yeah, so
little
that's
Very nice. Very
a bit of
nice.
a
Well
change
thought
there.
out. Well thought
Yeah,
out.
there you go. Yeah.
So anyway, it's the middle of 2025 already. I'm just blown away by how fast this year has gone. I mean, if I think I'm still somewhat in denial. Like I still feel kind of an April May vibe a little bit, except for the fact that it's 105 degrees Fahrenheit outside.
My God, is it?
Oh,
Oh my God.
it's
That's nasty.
staggering.
That's nasty. Oh my
It
goodness
is
me.
nasty. It is nasty, but I don't know. This year's gone maybe a little bit like I expected, but a lot I didn't expect. And I thought we could kind of just chat about mid-year trends and maybe set some second half of the year goals.
Okay, yeah, right, yeah. Do I feel like 20? Yeah, actually, I agree. 25 is rocketing. It has actually rocketing. It is
Yeah.
first half's just gone. It's really interesting, though. That's a good question. What are the trends that we thought were going to kind of dominate uh everybody's time, everyone's conversations, everyone's
Yeah.
activities that didn't haven't quite materialized yet? I'm going to say those two letters that you hate talking about. I'm going to say them because actually I don't think well, it's played out exactly as I think if we listen to some of the pods we recorded last year, it's played out exactly as we said it was going to. AI hasn't stolen all our jobs. And in fact, I was reflecting today, I was reading a couple of articles and I thought, I know what the problem is. At the moment, and again, this is Mr. Amateur psychology. I have my first degree in amateur psychology. All the guidance, right? All the guidance, all the articles, all the editorial, it's all being written by AI specialists. So like
By
stuff is
AI specialists or by AI?
well, one of the one could be one of both. Could be both, maybe. I don't know. But certainly it's been written from the perspective of, there you go, we'll say that, from the perspective of an AI specialist. I'm seeing
Yeah.
very little chat that's at that kind of practical. I don't need to know how it works. I just need to know that it works. Even today, something popped up on LinkedIn. Hey, let's get under the hood. Why? I don't need to know how. I don't need to know the technicalities of it. And I wonder if that's actually putting people off because we're still having too much of a technical conversation around AI
Well,
rather
I
than
think,
a lived
sorry.
experience. I was going to say, rather than a lived experience of AI.
Well, I think that we've seen AI go from the biggest topic to still the biggest topic, but now we're well beyond emergence. We're well beyond uh, implementation, and we're now into comfortability, and getting more sophisticated with it. And so I think because there are so many channels, there's so many platforms to use, and people are getting more and more sophisticated with prompts and what they're getting out of it, what they're putting into it. I think for some people, there's a need to go under the hood so you can get better at using it because you're beyond AI 101. But I'm still shocked by how many people aren't even to AI 101 yet.
Yeah, yeah. Am I? No, I think that's my whole argument. I think they're not getting into 101 because the majority of material that's being plugged in is let's get under the hood straight away. Let's understand the technical. I mean, let's code. Let's build your own GPT. Build my own GPT. I can barely say it. I can barely, definitely can't spell it. Then I build my own. Why do I want to build my own GPT when I don't even know yet, really, the full potential of what it is that's available to me on the market? And I think it's because so much stuff is being written from the perspective of somebody who's developed and understands AI, not somebody who's actually maybe dabbled with it, played with it, made mistakes with it, but done it from the perspective of a membership professional. I'm not seeing any of that.
Correct. And I think what we will continue to see is a growing chasm between those who are comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in it and
Yeah,
can look under
definitely.
the hood, and
Yeah.
their advancement in it will speed up.
Yeah,
And that gap between those in the know, those who can apply it well, and those who
definitely.
don't will grow.
Yeah.
And that's where jobs will be lost or not won, or change, or someone's output and efficiencies will increase, whereas
Yes.
someone else's
Yes.
won't.
I think that's a really good observation. You're right there. It's not that AI, it's the tool will take my job. It's actually there's somebody else who understands
Is
how to use
better
it
with it.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah, is
yeah,
going to take my job.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a
And
lot of
it's
sense.
I know in a lot of the survey work that I do, whether in advance of member engagement campaigns or strategic planning, AI is a lot of it's always one of the options in the question of what's the greatest challenge to your business, or, what trend or do you see that may
Yeah,
change your
yeah.
industry or
Hmm.
profession? And we put it in there. It's not always selected as often as I think we would think it would be. So I think the adoption of AI by our membership in their own businesses may not be as quick as the media wants us to think it is
Yeah,
or should be.
yeah.
So, helping members in this technological transition is as important as helping our membership staff or our association staff at the same time. I don't think it's as far as along as people want us to think it is.
So do we think the second half of this year, I definitely agree with you that I think we're going to see that gap widen in terms of those early adopters who have become more proficient in its use. Definitely, I think are gonna you know move ahead quite rapidly.
Yeah.
I think you're right, that gap is going to grow. Do we think the kind of just generally the wider sort of understanding and adoption of AI, do we think that that actually is going to gather momentum, or is it just now, have we actually slowed to such a pace that all the momentum, all the energy that was built up rapidly around it,
Mhm.
the whole heat seems to have been kind of taken out of it? It's really
And yet
cooled.
I go to a conference and it's still either the title of or an angle to every topic in the conference. So it's still
Yep.
what people think they're supposed to be
Supposed to be
featuring as
talking
the
about, yeah.
newest trend,
Hmm.
the innovation.
Yeah.
Number one,
Yeah.
it's not new, it's not innovative any longer. And I'll say something maybe not nice. You might not expect this from me, it might
Oh
be
my God.
unkind.
What is this? Go on, hang on
Unkind.
a minute. Let me just pause.
I believe, like many things, AI is simply a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
If you know how to use it, if you're good at
Yeah.
it, all these things like other technologies. And I don't necessarily want everybody to catch up and get good at it.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
I,
Yeah, because
I
if we're
like
all,
it as a
yeah,
competitive advantage. I want to get better in it. I want to help my clients get better in it. And I just don't think I don't think it's an equalizer because it won't be applied equally.
yeah,
And
yeah.
those who use it and those who are good at it will hopefully succeed. And I'd like to be in that category. I'm trying to put time and effort and understanding into it.
Yeah, likewise.
But
Hmm.
I don't want to bring everyone along. That doesn't help me.
No, no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And actually, yeah, it's not necessarily a bad thing from in terms of, for those organizations who are early adopters and are really seeing its potential. Good, yeah, crack on. And, I just think it's a shame that um it's one of those, it's a paradox, isn't it? We're not, because it's such a, you're right, it's not new, but its adoption is still at the early stages. And
Mhm.
so the paradox is we just don't have enough. There's just not enough rich material. There's just not enough rich case studies for us to be
Not in the
showcasing
membership space, not in
in the
the
membership space.
association
Yeah, yeah,
space.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look,
And
yeah,
everyone who's putting it out there is selling something as
yeah,
it relates to AI.
yeah.
And so I get what they're getting out of it. I get why that discussion is being pushed and why that
Yes,
pressure
yes.
to become AI literate is being put on not only the association industry, but every industry, is because
Yeah.
someone's trying to
Mhm.
sell you something. They're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
sell you a
yeah.
training, a credential, a certificate, a piece of software. And so I encourage people to wade into the AI pool without bias, without someone who's leading you in because they have a motivation. But yeah, AI is here. It's not going anywhere. It's not new, and I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on the changing changes in the world that wouldn't be necessary or wouldn't be possible otherwise. I think it's just started to. It's just there. It's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know I can accomplish certain things and take on more and get things done quicker. But my bigger question isn't how to use more of AI. It's what to do with that portion of my brain that's been freed up. And what do I do with that time to now be better, think bigger, do more, do different? If I'm liberated from some of these things that AI does for me or helps me do more quickly, how am I improving? How am I expanding because of that time, because of that availability? And
So,
that's really the question of your membership staff or whomever. If you're able to automate or whatever, then what? Then what do you do with that?
right. Now,
Because the
then this,
automation in itself is not the goal. The
no.
goal is freeing yourself up to do better, to do different, to do what now is maybe valuable or different that your members require that they didn't before.
And I think that you've got some, I think that leads nicely on to another area that I think hasn't, I think, well, I've seen in the first half of this year this increasing. I've felt it, and I'm seeing, perhaps because I'm feeling it, I'm seeing more of it. This demand, this expectation that we, as a sector, are constantly engaging in innovation and creativity, and that we have to be cutting edge. I'm not saying we are, I'm saying that's the demand and the expectation, the pressure on us is to constantly be engaging in innovation, constantly being creative. What I don't want to see happen is that AI realizes resource efficiencies. I do definitely want it to see what you describe. How do we do things better? How do we
Mhm.
maybe do things differently? My worry is that we see it as an opening for us to do more and more and more. And we've spoken, our very, very, very first episode 5 years ago was talking about purposeful abandonment.
Yeah,
How do we really focus on those one or two amazing things that only we do really
yeah.
well? And I'm getting the sense constantly, gosh, the number of, and it's really interesting. I kind of took the temperature on this. I sense checked my thinking on this at a workshop I was running last week in Indiana. And I spoke about all the headlines that I'm seeing just constantly coming across my desk. Every board is doing this. Every association is doing this amazing thing. Why aren't you? And
What is that, like
everybody,
peer pressure shaming? I mean,
well, honestly, that you read the headlines. You read the headlines, and I can name check I can name check the newsletters if you want me to. Not sure I should,
don't
but
do it.
yeah, but we know who I'm talking about. And the amount of constant hype that I think this artificial, I'm going to say it's not fake news, but this artificial sort of narrative that's sort of being forced on us that everyone is doing some amazing things, and by the way, you're not. And I'm really worried that that is putting too much pressure on organizations and that we are actually becoming paralyzed because
Well,
there's this constant demand, not from members, but arguably from peers, outside our organizations, from our networks, from the community, there's this constant narrative that actually I don't think reflects reality.
But that hype again, and I don't mean to be so pessimistic or distrustful, but are isn't most of that hype coming from organizations that are also trying to demonstrate that they can help serve you in that pursuit? Whether it's board source, whether it's CEO update, whether it's ASAE, whether it's this or they're then selling you a forum or a subscription or resources that are going to help you now achieve that or be like those other high performing organizations.
Okay, well,
It's
I mean, that's an extremely fair point. That's an extremely fair point. And in that case, what I'm arguing is that in the first half of 2025, I've seen that ramp up
yeah,
to a point where I think it's now risking doing a disservice to our sector
yeah,
because
yeah,
it is putting unrealistic demands and
yeah,
expectations on the sector that really we don't need to be meeting.
correct. And I mean, my first half of the year has really been focused on boards and their capacities, their dysfunctions, the abilities they have to follow their own rules and be
Mm.
the boards that their memberships deserve. And I've already conducted two executive searches this year. The amount of churn and
A lot of churn this year. Hmm.
dissatisfaction, a lot of great high quality people who are in a transitionary phase. There's not a lot of quality opportunities, and you and I both know. I mean, we've built curriculum around it.
Hmm. Hmm.
CEOs and their boards not trusting each other, not communicating. I would argue to say, and I can only presume it's going to get worse given kind of the state of the
Yeah,
world, that the partnership between staff executives and their boards is quite broken on the
yeah.
whole, and that the trust is will continue to erode. I mean, I'm just you and I we only get brought in when there's a fire burning, right?
Oh,
So
always,
I
always.
apologize to to the audience, to the Association Transformation fans who think we're maybe overly negative or woe is me. That's kind of the life of a consultant. You don't get called in when things are going great. You get called in when it's hitting the fan, when the fire is ablaze, when things are going wrong.
Mm,
And so being glass half empty becomes somewhat of a natural consequence of that. But it also makes the swings from not going well to success and growth that much more rewarding. I've never worked with so many. I've never seen, not only from the consultant side, but even just word of mouth, even just anecdotally,
yeah, yeah,
hearing
yeah.
so many challenges with boards who are not, what do we say, up for
Performing.
purpose or
Yeah, yeah. They're not necessarily. Some of them are not fit for purpose, but
fit
some of
for
them I
purpose.
just
That's it.
think. Some of them I just think have. But again, is it because they're coming into an environment that is so highly charged at the moment, and you're
They don't know
immediately
what we read. They don't. They're not seeing those same things,
okay, no, but
right?
okay. Let me put that in a different. I mean, the environment is still highly charged, regardless of whether who's. I mean, look, the socio-political environment in the US, for example,
Oh,
is so highly charged. The
oh,
legislative context in which we are constantly trying to respond, literally, and I mean
yeah,
constantly. That's not a sweeping generalization. We are talking sometimes hour to hour, day to day. We are having to navigate such a difficult socioeconomic
yeah,
environment
yeah,
that it's highly charged from that perspective. You then combine that with a staff that's feeling highly charged in a different context. The
yeah,
whole piece is just you walk and then you're saying to directors, right, do a job and do it really well. I think this goes back to the article I wrote a couple of years ago about this lack of self-confidence that directors are feeling, but it is manifesting
yeah,
in them projecting a lack of confidence in their senior executives.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that
It's
that is a big part of it.
there's just so many factors, and it's why I love this industry, this profession. I say a lot that it's an art and a science to be an association professional.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just worried. We thought the peak of COVID and getting through COVID was this, pinnacle of craziness, of chaos, of stress and pressure, and there was not really any relief.
The release, no, no, and
I'm
we still
just
haven't had
worried
it.
what what's the breaking point here, whether it be for an executive who's can't take it anymore, whether it's for a board who is, on the brink of non-compliance or unethical or illegal behavior, or a membership that's slowly dwindling, and staff that are trying to do all the things they're supposed to have been doing this whole time, while, to your point, being new and innovative and exciting. And we're setting ourselves up for, this kind of over subscription, and we're never going to please all the masters that we have.
Which is why
I
I
mean,
think in the second half of 25, I think for
should we
me,
just give hugs? Should we just give hugs? Should I just go to
um,
ASAE annual and just give hugs?
give hugs. For me, sorry, um, perspective is so important. I think in the second half of
Yeah,
this year, being able to take time to just regroup and get your perspective on your circumstances. Um, that is such a powerful tool to counter all of these different pressures that we are putting on ourselves, that we are feeling from our staff, our boards, our members, our volunteers, our stakeholders, our
yeah,
funders, our donors, whomever. I think perspective is frequently is being lost.
mhm,
And if there's one thing I want to see really, and I think, going back to the AI piece, we all kind of lost, well, we all kind of lost perspective when we started talking about AI. I think we kind of get in perspective now. It's like, oh, actually, right, people are now, those who are using it have recognized, as you said, I'm not losing my job to the tool. We get in that perspective. We're kind of calming down, perhaps calming down a little bit, getting a bit too relaxed,
yeah,
because we're not actually utilizing it the way we can. But I think, that those opportunities I feel so precious and too few and far between to just take that moment and say, no, hang on a minute now, wait a minute. Is this really the reality in which we're working?
yeah, yeah.
Chances are 9.9 times out of 10, it's not the reality. And for me, that piece just using this mid 25, it's the summer. We're going into, you're probably going into another holiday weekend, shortly.
It's
Um, but it's a nice,
105. I'm going nowhere. I'm
it's
staying
a
in my air
nice
conditioning.
time, but it's a nice time to take that, use it as a watershed moment and say, right,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
let's get some perspective on where we're at. Because without that
yeah.
perspective, we keep fighting fires, we keep chasing the next best thing, um, we keep criticizing ourselves unfairly for what we perceive we're not doing. We fail to celebrate ourselves for the work that we are doing, and each other for the work that we're doing. And I
See, you're
think
just gonna start giving out hugs. That's what this sounds like.
it's like it's every podcast is a hug. That's what I think. Every podcast is a hug. It's
It's
a hug in your, it's a
digital
hug in your
hug.
head. It's a hug in your head.
Digital
Um,
hug.
so yeah, I think for me, let's take some time to get some perspective, and now to try and make the rest of the year, and goodness knows what's coming up in 26, 27, 28. But give ourselves a breather and just say,
Yeah,
actually, things aren't quite what they seem on the surface ever. They never
yeah,
are.
yeah. Well, and I think the restraint to not overreact, to not let yourself, cringe and take anything that you read, anything, on the internet, social media too seriously, to just, stay medium.
Yeah.
And I call upon a lot of my clients, especially in these last couple of weeks, to define what success really looks like over the next 6 months.
Mm.
So if by the end of the year, of course, do you want to be successful, better, bigger, have, all these things, but just really define what that is. And maybe there's a definition of success for the association, a definition of success for the board, and
Hmm.
then one for you personally. And maybe it's time, maybe it's monetary, maybe it's stress relief or balance, just to really get your head around what you're trying to achieve. Because I find if I don't have the list, if I don't have kind of it framed, I will. Do you not have desk?
Let's go mine on random bits of
All my
sticky
all my
notes plastered all
all
over
my
my
lists.
computer. I
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
can barely see you through the forest of sticky notes all over my screen.
There you
Um,
go. There you
do
go.
this yesterday. Yeah.
I even have a list that says lists are my love language.
There you go. There you go. Excellent. Excellent.
Oh, sir. So what is your definition of success for the next 6 months? What does the end of the year, what would your life, your work, your clients look like at the end of 2025 that would make this year a success?
Um, well, I think it is that. I mean, yeah, it is that piece around actually taking that step back and regrouping. A couple of my
Hmm.
clients have been going at such a rate over the last few years. It's like they've not been able to stop. And
Yeah.
some of the fundamentals that they need to be successful in the future are missing as a
Hmm.
result. Sounds really boring. Sounds really, really dull and tedious. Simple things with one of my clients, just getting your data sorted out. It
Yeah.
sounds really
Yeah.
dull, but without that, you've got no foundation for success. And so I've said to
Hmm.
them, just focus on that. Just do that. That'll be a
Right.
massive success for you. And again, I think we need to stop being grandiose in our ambitions in the sense that, yes, have ambition,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we also need to be I would like to see my clients be more realistic in the appreciation of not just what they can achieve but what they should be achieving.
Yeah. I think that for me, that's a big key to not oversubscribe myself,
Yeah,
not by
yeah,
saying no per se, but by
yeah,
managing expectations.
yeah. Oh,
And I
absolutely.
think there's a lot
Hmm.
of executives who are not necessarily good at managing expectations with their board, because they have that, imposter phenomenon, whatever it is. They don't feel like they can set, maybe a lower expectation, or try to manage things to current realities.
And that
If
always surprised.
your meeting's not going to
Sorry,
get record attendance, then prepare your board for that.
prepare them for it. Absolutely.
If you're not
Yeah.
going to make budget, if you aren't going to be able to hire for that position, people hold on to that information too long, thinking I'll just fix it first and then no, I won't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Set expectations, be transparent,
Uh-huh.
share with
Yeah.
people, whether that's a professional vulnerability or organizational vulnerability. The sooner you free yourself from having to keep that a secret and solve it on your own, if you share it and you set expectations accordingly,
Mm.
the weight that comes off your
Yeah.
mind, your body, the
Yeah.
situation is amazing.
No, it's spot on, and I guess it always. I mean, I actually coincidentally I ran some project management training in London this afternoon, and that was the theme of all of it was managing expectations. That's all project
Yeah.
management is. It's just
Yeah.
controlling the
Which is
narrative and
people.
managing
That's the art
expectations.
part of it. That's the
Exactly,
messy
exactly.
people part of it. Think around
Uh,
your board table and how many expectations and personalities and biases and all of it that you're dealing with. Yeah, I think, to your
yeah,
earlier point, cut yourself some slack
yeah,
and take the rest of the year to uh, find that perspective, to say no where you can, and be empathetic with yourself and with those around you. I hope that the second half of the year is amazing for everyone. I hope all of those membership numbers by the end of the year come in where you need them to be, and meeting registrations and revenues just continue to return and exceed pre-COVID numbers. Um, I'm excited for the clients that are using the rest of this year to undertake strategic planning, because I think 2026 through 2030 is going to be
mm-hmm,
imperative,
mm-hmm,
imperative for the future, not just success, but survival of many organizations who represent industries that are in pretty dramatic flux.
Yeah.
And we're now at this point at the second half of the 2020s that
Yeah.
you have to reimagine your business model and what value to your members is, what your members need is dramatically different than it was even in the 2010s. And you can't drag your feet anymore. You got through COVID, you survived, great. That in itself is not success any longer.
No, no,
So
no.
so that preparedness for the future, whatever that looks like, you have to start having those hard conversations now and do that scenario planning to give yourself any chance.
I agree. As you were talking there, I suddenly thought, oh my God, are we now closer to 2030 than 2020?
Maybe what's to
Is
maybe
that,
not today, but maybe I don't know how many. What's the
or does that
exact
happen?
middle of the year?
Or does that happen at the end of the year? This is a maths equation I can't quite do in
Oh,
my
I see
head.
what you mean. I see what you mean. Maybe
Because
you
actually,
think it's January.
2020 is right up until December 31st, 2020, wasn't it? So that's
Yeah.
technically, so,
Well, yeah, but where would you end the 2020s? You wouldn't end
oh,
it in 2030, you'd end it at the
no,
end of 2029.
2029. Oh my God. But the
So,
very fact we're having to work this out, but we are talking about it, is illuminating enough that
oh yeah.
we
Oh,
are
believe me,
well
2030,
on our way to the 2030s.
crazy. I mean, my kid graduates high school in 2029.
Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute.
Oh, are you doing math? Hold on. Let me screenshot
Oh
this.
my
I've never seen you
God.
do math before.
No, well, I'm just, oh my God, the 2030s. I think that could be the decade that I retire. Oh my God.
Is this a plan or is this an aspiration?
I think it's just a realization. All right. Okay. Go back to your barbecue in your 105. Go sit in the oven that is outside.
Yeah, we are barbecuing. All right, so wait, we've got a couple more podcasts. We're almost to 150. That
Yeah.
is staggering and amazing. I'm so excited about our guest for 150. And then we're going to take a
Take a
little
little break.
siesta in the
Take a little
summer, right?
summer holiday. Take a little vacation. We'll put some re-releases out over the summer, and then
Okay.
we'll be back fighting fit then toward the end of August, start September.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And just one little challenge for our association transformation community. I get whether I'm at meetings or I'm talking to someone new or I'm on LinkedIn, I hear more and more that people are like, "Oh, I watched the podcast or I heard this or that." I need to hear from you guys. Either come be guests, share with us topics. What do you want to talk about? I mean, Andrew and I are sick of each other. Like, please come on. Are we? That's not fair to say. I thought I was speaking on your behalf.
Oh no, the surprise is that well, you finally caught up. I mean, I was there 2022.
Shut up.
So you finally caught up, right? Okay.
Please, just if you love the podcast, if you enjoy this, come be a part
Yeah.
and join us, share what you've got going on, or shoot us an email with a topic idea. You know we'll tackle it whether we know anything about it or not. So
Oh, and do you know what?
give us a challenge.
Can I just finish with this, right? Can I just finish this? This
Yes.
is super naughty. This was super naughty of me. And
Oh dear.
it's like it's like
Naughty.
it's like Googling yourself, right? I I asked AI, what are consistently the top association podcasts in the world?
Okay.
And it named us.
What number were we?
I didn't rank. It named four podcasts, and that was it. It gave quite a long narrative, actually, about all these different podcasts that were available, but that these were the four that you want to listen to. And
Wow.
and
Should
it
we
named
plug any of our
us.
podcasting friends? Do you want
I
to give any other plugs?
do you know what? Now I'm gonna have to go and find it because I can't. Did I?
It's all right. We won't we'll celebrate them another day.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
great. I mean, hitting 150, just having made it this long,
5 years.
having
5 years. It's
people
5 years.
listen
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
more people listen than ever before. I'm proud of this. You and I always talk about how it's the most fun thing that we do in our work, and it gives us that therapy that maybe we need a little bit. So yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for
Oh,
this. Thanks
thank
for
you.
today. Thanks for podcasting so late at night. Go to bed and
I am
we'll
tired. I'm starting to yawn. I am tired.
all right, get out of here. And until next time, put your members and your mission first.